Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope y'all have had a great Tuesday and a great start to your work week as we're working our way through it. There's a lot to talk about as, a week from now, we could be dealing with a pretty major storm system across the eastern U.S., and that's what we're going to continue to discuss in this video. The potential for a developing big-time cold front, and there could be a storm system with it in some sort of manner here. What's going to happen is strong winds, heavy rain, some snow. It's all possible out here, or we could just get a lot of cold air. But we're going to break down what we know now. We're going to continue to break this down throughout the entire week because I think it's important to know across the eastern U.S. what the travel conditions are going to be for Thanksgiving week. It's one of the most heavily traveled periods of the year. So I want to mention, if you guys hear my kids anytime in the background, they're playing trick or treat. They're playing hide and seek very, very loudly. So if y'all hear them occasionally, I do have kids. So I live a basic normal life. I have kids. I'm a family man. So, for any new viewers, occasionally you do hear them in the background, but this is as real as it gets, and I try to keep it real and genuine with you guys. So if you guys have not subscribed to my channel, hit the subscribe button, like the video if you like it. And, I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm not going to bore y'all with that and keep talking on it, but I do advise, if you love weather updates every single day, I try to do them every single day. I'm also a storm chaser, so I stay very active out there. Not a full-time storm chaser like Reed Timmer or anything like that, but I try to chase as much as I can. Hope to do it more here in the future. But thank you all for tuning in. A lot to talk about. We're just going to give you all some updated information on this potential Thanksgiving pattern coming up. So what we're going to do, kind of what we did in last night's video. So if you guys watched last night's videos, it's going to kind of take the same kind of trend here. So we're going to start off by looking at the European, the operational run from 12Z, which is the noontime models here. And going through here, we're getting into the end of this week. We have a cold front that's going to have some rain, some interior mountain northeast snow. Nothing too crazy. It's going to fire up the lake effect snow machine, excuse me, off Lake Michigan and all the Great Lakes and basically the favorite areas to get lake effect snow this time of the year, as the lakes are still relatively warm, but you get multiple cold fronts to start working through very frequently this time of the year as we're nearing December. And then the convection fires up off the lakes, and normally it's in the form of snow this time of the year. But as we're getting going here, another chilly weekend, but we're getting into Thanksgiving week, and here comes. If you look at this red line right here, it might be kind of hard to see on your screen. That's the 32-degree line. It's going to bounce back and forth with the heating and cooling of the day, but you'll see on average it begins to sag more and more southeast. That is the cold front. This is Arctic air as basically a piece of the polar vortex. I wouldn't even call it that, but it's basically an Arctic trough from the most northern areas of Canada and North America. Is going to dip down, and a piece of it breaks down, and this unleashes the most significant cold front of the year. I'll say that. At the same time with it, it's going to bring a lot of snow, a lot of precipitation, and there's going to be a piece of energy with the northern stream and a piece of energy with the southern stream. What happens? Did they get a tag tandem here and get together and produce a big time low pressure off the northeast or over the northeast? That's still the big question. But when you have strengthening low pressures and you have tight gradients, you normally have strong winds, and that could be the case across the northeast. And as this Arctic air moves through over the Great Lakes, it's going to fire off the lake effect snow bands off Lake Erie, Lake Michigan, Lake Ontario, and all the lakes, and it's going to get... Sorry guys, I had to briefly stop that video, but girls were right beside my door being very loud. But as we're going forward here, lake effect snow bands get going here off the Great Lakes because this Arctic air is going over the relatively warm waters of the Great Lakes. This happens all the time, and but this could be a significant lake effect snow machine when you get this really cold air that moves over this lakes. So if you're traveling along the Great Lakes and the favored lake effect snow areas like eastern areas of Lake Michigan in Michigan, the south and southeastern areas of Lake Erie and Ontario, Watertown, Cleveland, Erie, Pennsylvania, and any of these areas right in here, this could be your first real significant lake effect snow of the year. And moisture can get all the way into Pittsburgh sometimes with these intense lake effect snow bands, and I really think it's going to be a wintry day, depending on where you're located, potentially, and for areas of the interior northeast and certain areas of the Ohio Valley. When this Arctic air moves through, at the same time, you have this deepening low pressure off the Euro setting up somewhere in here, and then you have a big time blocking high, a negative NAO setting up over Greenland that's basically going to steer this strengthening low pressure either back into southeast Canada or maybe kind of stall it out over here. Maine, you got to watch out for a big time snowstorm with this, or just a big time system in general. The way the cold air is funneling in, it's odd. It's not a wholesale cold air mass really for this low. But then as we get going here, it moves off, and then cold air filters in with what could be a pretty chilly and just downright cold day, Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. But there's still a lot to figure out. Then right at the end of the European run, it gets really interesting for areas out in the Midwest and South Central U.S. with that cold air being reinforced. There's some precipitation to the south, and you got to wonder where this run is heading at the end. But then again, that's 10 days out. This is going to change multiple times. So, looking at the GFS, it's a little bit different as always. Normally they're not the exact same, but we get into this weekend, cold front moves through, and then here's this other cold front, and you can tell this is some cold air diving in. But look at the low pressure. It's well off the coast, and it really doesn't get its act together until it gets well off the coast of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. But at the same time, look at how close the precipitation is. In Boston, that's snow, almost in Cape Cod area. So it's close. You have plenty of cold air moving in. You have some intense lake effect snows firing off all the Great Lakes from the northwest to southeast. And you have a pretty significant storm system developing here. But look what it does here. It gets kind of blocked off by the negative NAO, the blocking over Greenland. And it makes it kind of shift north and then almost north-northwest to a degree, and brings significant snow to the down east areas of Maine, and major snowstorm for your Tuesday. A lot of scenarios on the table. One thing, if you have a strengthening system and you can get it a little bit closer to the northeast, according to the GFS, you will have strong winds, heavy rain, snow, interior snows, and just a big mess. And the way this is digging, this might not be a super significant storm in the southeast, but there's still a lot of time to work this out. One thing I will mention, in the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here, this is basically the entire Thanksgiving time frame, if you will. Below average temperatures are definitely happening, and it correlates completely well with models and how the cold air is digging down. So it's going to be chilly Thanksgiving week, at least for some of it. You compare that with the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, as far as precipitation, above average chances of precipitation for the eastern U.S. You mix that with below average temperatures, and when you start to get into mid to late November, certain areas, that means snow. So what's going on here, and I showed you guys this last night, this piece of, you can call it a piece of a polar vortex or whatever you want to call it, but basically it's an Arctic trough. It gets kind of unhinged, if you will, releases from the northern areas of North America, it dips down and produces a big time cold front, a big time trough. And when the jet stream dips this far low, and this is the EPS European ensembles, the jet stream lags this low. So the jet stream, as it's dipping low, sometimes storm systems can develop here depending on the pattern in place. And that's what's been showing up here in the last few models. So that's what we have to watch out for, as far as, is there going to be a storm system that really develops here? And most models are showing some kind of storm system. If you look at the European run as far as snowfall, moving forward here, I'll go all the way out 240 hours out. So this takes us all the way to about next Friday morning. You don't see anything crazy really far south, but you do see significant snows in the lake effect snow favored areas. If you look at the ensembles here, there's still a little bits of the grayish shaded areas into the mid-Atlantic, but you notice there's not much of a signal outside the lake effect snow areas and the interior areas of the Northeast. There's really not much of anything. If you look at winds, this is the thing that I'm really concerned about. If you get a storm system that really could just really disturb travel in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. As we're getting into Monday, here comes the piece of energy moving right here, and then you have some kind of piece of energy in the southern areas, And this could really bring, 30 to 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, knots here. And, if this happens, especially, look at these big time winds coming off the Great Lakes here. That's going to be a significant wind threat. With any kind of precipitation, it's not going to bode well here. And then look at this area right here, just off the coast here as we get into Wednesday morning, as this low pressure is really deepening. This could really, if this was to happen, bring some damaging winds for southern New England, which is a favorite area for these nor'easterns. So, man, we just really have to watch this for sure. As far as the temperature part of this, and I do want to say, guys, sorry this video has been a little bit more sloppy than I wanted it to be. My kids are going crazy in the background. It's kind of distracting me a little bit. But this is the National Weather Service, the 3 to 7 day hazards outlook. So it's highlighting this area already. And this is still kind of improving. But it's already highlighting this area from, basically November 23rd of next week, the much below average. This is a week from today. Saying this could potentially be an area in northern Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia where it could be much below average temperature-wise. And then it's highlighting this area. It's signifying that, hey, we're seeing the storm system now. Potential for heavy rain in this area of the northeast, the coastal areas, and then this lighter shade of green, almost a winter green kind of color, heavy precipitation. So it's not saying heavy rain, it's saying heavy precipitation. So it's throwing around the idea that, hey, this could be heavy snow. As far as the temperatures, you look here, you see the cold front moving through this weekend. This is going to make for a pretty chilly weekend across everywhere in the eastern U.S. But as we're getting into next week, the real Arctic air mass from North America, from Canada, comes in. And, this is highs for the eastern U.S. Tuesday. 40s almost as far south as northern Florida. 30s potentially for highs in Tennessee, Kentucky. 40s for all of North Carolina, maybe in the 30s. So this is some chilly air moving through about a week from today. Lows in the 20s and 30s for even areas in the south. Most of the coldest air is actually in the Ohio Valley to the southeast, where this really cold air is sliding in and how it's kind of the axis of it is sliding in. But if you look as you get into later in the week, temperatures kind of moderate. If you're looking at the European, Thanksgiving Day will be split big time between areas in the mid-south, southeast, and then the deep south would be warm and comfortable. But if you took this as if this was going to happen, this would be a very chilly, very just downright frigid, cold Thanksgiving in the Midwest, and chilly Thanksgiving for the Northeast, and a chilly Thanksgiving even for the Mid-South, including Tennessee and northern areas of Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. So there's a lot to work out. The GFS is much different as far as how the cold air works out. Next Monday, cold front moves through. Very chilly day for Tuesday. It's saying the same kind of thing as the European. You get into Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, the warmth starts to return. You get into your Thanksgiving Day. Same kind of thing. There's a little bit of a big time boundary here with temperatures, but some areas in the southeast could be in the 60s and 70s. Some areas could be in the 50s, maybe the 40s. And I'm really starting to think just in general, the Ohio Valley, the Northeast is just going to be downright cold, that's for sure. One thing we're also watching is the pattern after next week. And that's something that I haven't really talked about much, but that can also be favorable for below average temperatures and stormy weather. So we're going to watch that. But in the meantime, we're watching this potential big time storm maker for next week. Details will get a lot more clear as we're getting to the later part of this week. But I'll continue to keep y'all updated. Thank y'all for the amazing support. Thank y'all for viewing, and y'all have a blessed night.